Feeling a little bored in the house or stuck for creativity during this quarantine lockdown? Well, in this video, I'm going to teach you how you can create awesome and even mesmerizing cinemagraphs from the comfort of your home with nothing more than a pair of sunglasses, your mobile phone, and your roommate or significant other coming up. Hey, what is up guys? Justin Lawrence here. Now, as a fellow photographer, I speak from experience when I say that this lockdown can sometimes feel discouraging and somewhat limiting on your creativity. But I'm here to tell you today that being stuck at home does not mean that you still can't create amazing content, even with the limited resources at your disposal. And so that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching you today as you learn exactly how to create professional and engaging cinemagraphs with absolutely no expensive equipment required and from the comfort of your home. So without further ado, let's get to creating. So in terms of the ingredients, all you really require is a mobile phone, some sunglasses, and your subject. But if you want to level up the storytelling and cinematic feel of your cinemagraph, I'd recommend getting a hold of some inexpensive fairy lights or string lights, as well as some popcorn. Now, in terms of your composition arrangement, all you need to do is ask your subject to sit in a chair or couch, preferably in front of a bookshelf or anything that you can hang the fairy lights over. You see, the fairy lights is what will provide your image with some cool light texture bokeh, which will definitely add some cinematic spice to your cinemagraph. Now, in terms of the lighting setup, I'd recommend going over to Google Images to search for and download a blank white image to your mobile phone. This image, used in combination with your phone's full brightness setting, will serve as all the professional lighting that you'll need for this shot. So once that's done, simply hand the mobile lighting setup to your subject and ask them to extend out their hand with the lighting directed towards their face. And then for her to use her second hand to hold up a piece of popcorn to her mouth, et voila, your setup is done. Go ahead and take that snap, and now you're ready to make some cinematographic magic in Photoshop. I'll see you there. So to save us a bunch of time, I've already gone ahead and applied the base edit to this image. I've recovered the low exposure, applied a bit of a color pop, and cropped it to the Instagram ratio. But if you're curious to learn about my full editing process, be sure to check out the link in the description down below. So with the base of your image ready, next what you want to do is import your selected footage that you'd like to place in the sunglasses as a reflection. In the past, I've used all kinds of reflections, and what I've found works best is footage that looks the same at the start as it does at the end, so to create an illusion of an endless loop when posted. And since this type of cinemagraph falls under more of a stay-at-home movie night kind of theme, I decided that a movie intro sequence would probably work best here. So once you've decided on your footage of choice, head on over to File, Place Embedded, and just like that, you are done. Once embedded into your project, you should see the timeline window appear at the bottom of your screen. If not, you can simply go over to Window and then hit Timeline right over here. Now, the timeline is basically just your layers panel on steroids. You see, you still have these same layers represented. The only difference is that in the timeline, you can now view and edit video clips as well as audio files into your project. This is where we'll be working the video footage into our image so as to create our cinemagraph as a final product. So with our footage imported into our timeline, we can go ahead and adjust the playheads right over here and here to determine when you would like the playback of the footage to start. Something like this works well. And then you can go ahead to the end of the footage, and just as the logo starts to peek through, like so, that's a good cutoff right there. Once that's done, you can go ahead and hit the visibility icon right over here to hide the footage for the time being. We'll come back to that in a second, but first what you want to do is to zoom into your subject's sunglasses by holding Z and clicking into your photo. Once the sunglasses are nicely in view, it's time to use the pen tool to make a selection of each lens so as to tell Photoshop where we eventually want to cut out and shape our footage so that it fits nicely into our frame as a reflection. To do that, let's go ahead and hit P for the pen tool and click our first point somewhere on the edge of the lens itself. Not the metal frame. You want to avoid this. You want to make sure that your selection is inside the metal frame. So with our first point selected, you can go ahead and click your second point click and hold to adjust the curve of the path, and then continue on to your third point, and so on. Obviously, you can take your time with this. The more accurate your selection, the more realistic and impressive your final result will be. So once you finish the initial path for your first lens, it will automatically be saved into your Paths tab for future use right over here. Now this is just an awesome feature of Photoshop and will come super in handy in steps to follow. So now what you want to do is click the Create a New Path button right over here, and we can get started with creating our second path in our adjacent lens. For the sake of time, I've gone ahead and skipped to the completion of the second path. So now that we have both of our paths created, we can simply go back to our layers panel right over here, and then click on the layer that's containing our footage and hit Command C and Command V to duplicate it. Turn off the visibility on the top layer and select the footage on the layer below. Reduce the opacity so that you can see what you're doing. Then hit Command T, and now we're going to resize and reposition the footage into a suitable spot over the left lens. Once you're happy, hit accept and feel free to increase the opacity back up to 100%. Then go into the paths panel once again, hold Command and click on the first path to turn the path into a selection. Go back over to the layers panel and now simply click on the layer mask button right over here to create a cutout of our video. I've gone ahead and repeated these steps for the second lens. Okay, now that's done, it's time for a very important step. First, group these two layers together by holding Shift, clicking on each, then hitting Command G. This will group the layers together. And now what you want to do is go over to the blending mode drop down right over here and select Lighten. This will create a much more realistic look to the reflection by allowing the underlying catch lights to show through our footage, thus helping to create a much more 3D and polished look to the effect. Now in terms of exporting our file, you want to go down to this render video button right over here, and now it's very important that you use these settings on screen so to optimize your Cinemagraphs quality for Instagram. And there you have it guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial or have any other feedback to provide, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to connect with you there. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you next week for the next video. Bye for now.